There is a beach town in Portugal where you can buy an ocean view apartment for less than a used Honda Civic. Property taxes are $200 a year, and fresh seafood costs what you pay for gas station sushi in America. The belief that cheap, quality beach living means Thailand or Mexico is the lie of the travel brochure. Scattered across the world are actual coastal towns so overlooked, so economically stagnant, and so desperate for any economic injection that property prices make you wonder if someone accidentally added an extra zero on the low end. These are places where $50,000 buys you a house, not a down payment, and where your biggest monthly expense becomes figuring out which local wine is worth the extra €2. We are counting down 15 undiscovered beach towns where you can actually buy property cheap. One place has houses for under $30,000, but the catch involves infrastructure from the 1970s, internet speeds that make dial-up look cutting edge, and the reality that your nearest hospital is an hour away on roads that were paved when Nixon was president. Think you are ready for cheap beach towns? Let us break it down. Number 15, Nazare, Portugal. Nazare is famous for having the biggest waves on Earth. What surfers do not tell you is 9 months of the year, this town is empty, cheap, and available. It sits 90 minutes north of Lisbon, a working fishing village that swells during big wave season when surfers ride 80-foot monsters. Apartments start around €80,000 to €120,000. Rentals run €400 to €600 monthly off-season. Property taxes €200 to €400 annually. Cost of living is 40% lower than the US. Fresh fish costs almost nothing. Solid infrastructure, public health care, decent internet. The catch is off-season means genuinely quiet. Restaurants close, shops reduce hours. One expat described it as having a split personality. Chaotic during surf season, eerily quiet off-season. They loved the peace, but the first winter felt isolating. The waves are legitimately terrifying. Surfers ride waves taller than buildings. Free entertainment, but it means crowds and price increases. Picture an apartment overlooking the Atlantic. You paid €90,000. Monthly costs under €800. You eat fresh fish 3 times weekly. Then November arrives. Half the town shuts down. Your favorite restaurant closes until March. You have seen the same 6 people for 2 months. Sometimes cheap means adapting to rhythms that do not match modern expectations. Number 14, Azov Coast, southern Russia. The Azov Coast will sell you beachfront property cheaper than a motorcycle, but you are buying into complex geopolitical realities and rustic infrastructure. The Sea of Azov sits between Russia and Ukraine, with small resort towns popular during Soviet times and declining since. Apartments near the beach start at $15,000 to $25,000. Small houses run $30,000 to $50,000. Monthly costs $200 to $400. Property taxes under $100 annually. Food is incredibly cheap. Job market is non-existent, so foreign income is essential. Internet exists but unreliable. The appeal is purely financial. Coastal property for almost nothing. The challenges: geopolitical instability, complex visa requirements, English is rare, winters are harsh. Someone who spent a summer there said it was like visiting a Soviet time capsule with beaches. Rent was $150 monthly, but infrastructure felt decades behind. Bureaucracy was exhausting. International sanctions complicate banking. Credit cards often do not work. Transferring money is challenging. Picture a small house 200 meters from the beach. You paid $35,000. Monthly expenses $250. Summer is warm. Then you try transferring money from a U.S. account and spend 3 days navigating sanctions, wondering if cheap property is worth complications that make taxes look simple. Number 13. Sidi Ifni, Morocco. Sidi Ifni is a forgotten beach town on Morocco's Atlantic coast where Art Deco Spanish colonial architecture crumbles beautifully and property costs less than a semester of college. A Spanish colonial outpost until 1969, the town sits on cliffs above the Atlantic, stuck somewhere between 1940 and 2010. Small traditional houses start around $20,000 to $40,000. Renovated properties run $50,000 to $80,000. Rentals $150 to $300 monthly. Cost of living extremely low, $400 to $600 monthly. Fresh produce is absurdly cheap. Infrastructure is basic. Internet is slow. Healthcare requires traveling to Agadir for anything serious. The catch is cultural adjustment. Morocco is conservative. Alcohol is difficult to obtain. Social norms around gender are different. One person who relocated said, cost of living was shockingly low. They renovated a house for $35,000 total, monthly costs under $500. But adapting took months. Learning basic Arabic was necessary. The Spanish influence is everywhere. Art Deco buildings, plazas like small Spanish towns, architecture crumbling but gorgeous. Picture a traditional riad 400 meters from the ocean. You bought it for $28,000. Cost of living $450 monthly. Sunsets are stunning. Then you realize the nearest hospital is 90 minutes away. Internet cuts out weekly, and local bureaucracy requires patience you did not know you possessed. Number 12. Paldiski, Estonia. Paldiski will sell you a Soviet-era apartment with Baltic Sea views for less than a used car, but you are buying into a former military town that feels like a Cold War movie set. It sits 50 kilometers from Tallinn, a closed Soviet military city until 1994 with abandoned infrastructure mixed with slow redevelopment. Population around 4,000, heavily Russian-speaking. Apartments start at 10,000 euros to 25,000 euros. Renovated properties run 30,000 euros to 50,000 euros. Monthly expenses 300 euros to 500 euros. Property taxes under 200 euros annually. Estonia has excellent digital infrastructure with some of Europe's fastest internet. Healthcare available through public system. Local job market limited, but remote work is viable. The appeal is buying EU property for almost nothing in a country with advanced digital governance. The challenge is bleakness. Soviet architecture dominates. Abandoned military buildings everywhere. Winters are dark and cold with limited daylight. One expat described it as cyberpunk poverty, a former Soviet town with incredible internet and dystopian landscape. They loved low costs, but admitted the environment was depressing until reframed as aesthetic. The abandoned submarine base is a major landmark. Picture an apartment overlooking the Baltic. You paid 18,000 euros. Internet faster than most American cities. Costs 400 euros monthly. Then you look outside at gray Soviet blocks in a town that feels like the Cold War never quite ended. Number 11. Nesebar, Bulgaria. Nesebar's old town is a UNESCO site and expensive, but the new town sprawls with Soviet-era apartments, selling for almost nothing, because supply vastly exceeds demand. On Bulgaria's Black Sea coast, the old town sits on a peninsula with medieval architecture, but the new town is dominated by concrete blocks built during communism. Apartments start at 20,000 euros to 40,000 euros. Renovated properties run 50,000 euros to 70,000 euros. Rentals 200 euros to 400 euros monthly off-season. Cost of living 500 euros to 800 euros monthly, making Bulgaria the cheapest EU country. Internet is fast. Healthcare available and inexpensive. The catch is seasonality. Summer brings tourists, prices increase, beaches crowd. Winter is dead, most businesses close. One retiree paid 35,000 euros for a 2-bedroom apartment with sea views. Summer is vibrant, but winter felt isolated. Restaurants closed, streets emptied. They learned to travel or embrace quiet. Corruption and bureaucracy are real. Navigating property purchase involves lawyers because the system is complex. You are not buying in Western Europe with streamlined processes. Picture a modern apartment with balcony facing the Black Sea. You paid 32,000 euros. Summer is lively, October arrives. Town empties. Your favorite cafe closes until May. You are walking empty streets wondering if cheap was worth becoming a ghost town resident 8 months yearly. Number 10, Ventspils, Latvia. Ventspils is a port city on Latvia's Baltic coast where Soviet-era apartments sell cheap because the city is economically stagnant and young people leave for opportunities elsewhere. About 35,000 residents. Latvia's 6th largest city with significant port but limited economic diversification. Apartments range from 15,000 euros to 35,000 euros. Renovated units run 40,000 euros to 60,000 euros. Rentals 200 euros to 350 euros monthly. Monthly living costs 400 euros to 700 euros. Latvia is affordable compared to Western Europe. Internet is excellent, healthcare available through public system. Job market limited, making remote work essential. The city invested in public spaces, making it more pleasant than typical post-Soviet cities. The challenge is climate and population decline. Winters are long, dark, cold. The city feels emptier yearly as young people migrate. Social life limited. You are buying affordability in exchange for vibrancy. One remote worker said Ventspils was perfect for focus, costs minimal, distractions few. But after a year, lack of social energy wore them down. Latvia's population is shrinking. Cities like Ventspils feel the impact. Services contract, schools close. Picture a renovated apartment near the beach. You paid 28,000 euros. Internet is fast. Costs 500 euros monthly. December arrives with 6 hours of daylight. Temperatures drop below freezing. You question if affordability justifies latitude-induced seasonal depression. Number 9, Gokarna, India. Gokarna is India's answer to Goa before Goa became overrun, with beaches accessible only by footpaths and property prices that feel like typos. A small temple town in Karnataka with 25,000 residents on the Arabian Sea. Pilgrimage site and emerging backpacker destination, but development is limited. Small houses or land parcels start at $10,000 to $25,000. Developed properties run $30,000 to $60,000. Rentals $100 to $250 monthly. Cost of living extremely low, $300 to $500 monthly. Food is cheap and excellent. Infrastructure is basic. Power outages common. Internet unreliable. Water supply inconsistent. Healthcare requires travel to larger cities. The appeal is stunning beaches with almost no commercial development and unbelievably low costs. The challenge is India itself. Bureaucracy around foreign property ownership is complex. Long-term visas require specific qualifications, and daily life involves adapting to different systems. One expat said Gokarna was paradise for minimalists. They rented a beach cottage for $150 monthly. Life was simple, but infrastructure frustrations were constant. Monsoon season is intense. June through September brings heavy rains. Roads flood. Areas become inaccessible. Picture a cottage 200 meters from an undeveloped beach. You paid $18,000. Monthly cost $350. Setting is stunning. Then monsoon hits. Power is out 3 days weekly. Road floods. Internet is unusable. You are hand-washing clothes because the machine does not work without consistent electricity. Number 8. Ksamil, Albania. Ksamil is Albania's coastal secret with beaches that rival Greece, prices that rival nothing, and infrastructure improving faster than anywhere else on this list. Southern Albania near the Greek border. Beaches are white sand with turquoise water, part of the Albanian Riviera, developing rapidly but still affordable. Apartments start at €30,000 to €50,000. Small houses run €60,000 to €100,000. Rentals during off-season €200 to €400 monthly. Cost of living €500 to €800 monthly, making Albania one of Europe's cheapest countries. Internet decent and improving. Infrastructure developing, roads being paved, new construction everywhere. The area feels on the edge of becoming significantly more expensive. The catch is Albania is still emerging. Bureaucracy can be chaotic. Property laws were reformed, but enforcement is inconsistent. One investor described it as calculated risk. They bought a small house for €65,000. Beaches world-class, costs minimal. But navigating purchase required a local lawyer and patience with illogical systems. Tourism is exploding. Each summer brings more visitors. Infrastructure being built. If you buy now, you are potentially positioned before prices adjust upward. Picture a small house 300 meters from beaches that look like Greek islands. You paid €70,000. Cost €600 monthly. Beautiful and cheap. Then you navigate Albanian bureaucracy to get utilities connected and realize processes you assumed would take days, take months. Number 7. Las Penitas, Nicaragua. Las Penitas is a surf town on Nicaragua's Pacific coast where property is cheap, waves are consistent, and political complications keep prices depressed. Near Leon with population under 2,000. Laid-back surf village with long beach and consistent breaks. Beachfront lots start at $25,000 to $50,000. Small houses run $40,000 to $80,000. Rentals $200 to $400 monthly. Cost of living $600 to $900 monthly. Food is cheap. Internet exists but slow and occasionally unreliable. Healthcare available in Leon, 30 minutes away. The appeal is classic surf town lifestyle with low costs. The challenge is Nicaragua's political instability. The government has become increasingly authoritarian. Protests in 2018 were violently suppressed. Foreign residents reported issues with arbitrary enforcement and property disputes. Legal protections are weaker. One expat said the lifestyle was incredible, surfed daily, lived cheaply, enjoyed the community. But political uncertainty was constant background concern. They kept exit plans updated. Surfing is genuinely excellent. Breaks are uncrowded compared to Costa Rica. You can surf quality waves without battling 40 others. If surfing is your priority, Las Penitas delivers at a fraction of the cost. Picture a small house 2 blocks from the beach. You paid $55,000. You surf every morning. Monthly costs $700. Life feels perfect. Then you hear about new policies affecting foreigners and remember that cheap sometimes correlates with instability. Number 6, Calabria, southern Italy. Calabria is Italy's forgotten south, where entire villages are abandoned. Houses sell for €1 in regeneration programs, and the mafia's presence is why tourism never developed like Tuscany. Occupying Italy's Bhutto, coastal towns are stunning with beaches along the Tyrrhenian and Ionian seas. The region is poor, economically depressed, losing population. €1 houses exist in depopulating villages with requirements to renovate within 3 years, typically costing €20,000 to €50,000. Regular property starts at €30,000 to €60,000. Renovated coastal properties run €80,000 to €150,000. Rentals €300 to €500 monthly. Cost of living low for Italy, €800 to €1,200 monthly. Food is incredible and inexpensive. Healthcare available through Italy's national system. The catch is organized crime. The 'Ndrangheta is based in Calabria and is one of the world's most powerful criminal organizations. While tourists are not targeted, the organization's presence affects institutions, governance, and business. One couple bought a €1 house. Village was beautiful, locals welcoming. Renovation was a challenge involving bureaucracy and contractors with flexible timelines. Depopulation is severe. Villages that once had thousands now have hundreds. Picture a stone house overlooking the sea. You paid €1 plus €35,000 for renovation. Food is incredible. Then you learn the local mayor has ties to organized crime families, and governance operates through networks you will never fully understand. Number 5, Roatan, Honduras. Roatan is a Caribbean island where property is cheap, diving is world-class, and the mainland murder rate is terrifying enough that most people do not realize the islands are relatively safe. Part of Honduras Bay Islands with significant expat community, mostly American and Canadian retirees, known for diving along the Mesoamerican reef. Beachfront lots start at $50,000 to $100,000. Houses range from $80,000 to $200,000. Condos $100,000 to $250,000. Rentals run $500 to $1,000 monthly. Cost of living $1,200 to $1,800 monthly. Imported goods are expensive because everything ships to an island. Local food cheaper. Diving inexpensive. Healthcare available on island. Internet decent in developed areas. The appeal is Caribbean, living at prices significantly lower than typical islands with established expat community. The challenge is Honduras. The mainland has one of the world's highest murder rates. While Roatan is safer, crime exists. Petty theft common. More serious crime happens. One retiree said Roatan felt safe within expat areas, but you are aware of security constantly. They lock everything and avoid certain areas after dark. Lifestyle is great and affordable, but security context is always present. Diving is world-class. Reef is spectacular, marine life abundant. Picture a condo overlooking the Caribbean. You paid $120,000. Diving costs $30. Monthly budget $1,400. Life is beautiful. Then your neighbor gets robbed. You realize paradise requires security awareness that never fully disappears. Number 4, Durres, Albania. Durres is Albania's second largest city and main port, where Soviet-era apartments along the beach sell for almost nothing because the city industrialized rather than tourist developed. About 200,000 residents on the Adriatic, with a long beach more functional than beautiful. Working class with major port and industries. Apartments start at 20,000 euros to 40,000 euros for older units near the beach. Renovated properties run 50,000 euros to 80,000 euros. Rentals 150 euros to 300 euros monthly. Cost of living 500 euros to 800 euros monthly. Food cheap, public transportation inexpensive, internet adequate, healthcare basic but available. The appeal is buying in an actual city with services, not a tourist village. You have hospitals, shops, schools, infrastructure, functional cheap living rather than resort cheap living. The challenge is, Durres is not beautiful. Beach crowded in summer with locals. City is somewhat gritty. Architecture utilitarian. You are not buying into picturesque Albania, you are buying into working Albania. One digital nomad said Durres was perfect for productivity. Costs minimal, distractions limited. City functioned, but it was not charming. After 6 months, they craved aesthetic beauty. Beach is long, but not stunning. Summer brings crowds. Water decent, but not crystal clear. You are on the Adriatic for cheap, but your beach experience is more Coney Island than Maldives. Picture an apartment with sea view. You paid 32,000 euros. Cost 600 euros monthly. You have everything you need. But when you look outside, you see utilitarian architecture and landscape optimized for function over form. Number 3, Progreso, Mexico. Progreso is a working port on Mexico's Yucatan coast where expats buy cheap snowbirds, rent seasonally, and the town operates for Mexicans rather than tourists, keeping prices low and authenticity high. Sits 30 minutes north of Mérida on the Gulf of Mexico. Working-class beach town with massive pier and weekend crowds of locals. Expat community established, but not dominant. Houses start at $60,000 to $100,000 for older properties within blocks of beach. Renovated homes run $120,000 to $180,000. Rentals $400 to $700 monthly. Cost of living $1,000 to $1,500 monthly. Healthcare in Mérida excellent and affordable. Internet reliable. The appeal is accessible. Mexican beach living near a major city with culture, healthcare, services. Mérida is one of Mexico's safest cities. The challenge is, Progreso is not pretty. Beach is brown water, Gulf Coast, not Caribbean turquoise. Town is functional, not charming. Summer brutally hot and humid. Hurricane season is real. You are buying affordability and accessibility, not postcard beaches. One retiree said Progreso was the smart choice. Healthcare access through Mérida was critical. But aesthetically, it required adjusting expectations. Heat is intense. May through September, oppressively hot. Air conditioning becomes non-negotiable, increasing electricity costs. Picture a house 3 blocks from the beach. You paid $75,000. Monthly costs $1,200. Mérida is 30 minutes away, but the beach is brown, summer is sweltering, and the town feels working class. Number 2, Mangalia, Romania. Mangalia is Romania's southernmost Black Sea resort where communist-era infrastructure meets EU membership, creating cheap coastal property with institutional stability most of this list cannot offer. Sits near Bulgarian border. Popular domestic resort during communism. The town has beaches, a small port, distinctly Eastern European utilitarian architecture. Apartments start at 25,000 euros to 45,000 euros. For older units, renovated properties run 50,000 euros to 80,000 euros. Rentals 200 euros to 400 euros monthly off-season. Cost of living 600 euros to 900 euros monthly. Romania extremely affordable for EU standards. Internet excellent. Healthcare available through public system. The appeal is buying EU property with institutional protections at developing world prices. Romania offers visa-free access for EU citizens and straightforward residency for Americans. Legal system functions, contracts, enforceable. You have recourse that does not exist in many cheaper locations. The challenge is Mangalia is not beautiful. Beach is functional. Town somewhat depressing architecturally. Winters cold. Social scene limited. You are buying stability and affordability, not charm. One expat couple described Mangalia as the smart, boring choice. They bought a renovated apartment for 55,000 euros. Costs were manageable. They felt secure legally, but the town offered little culturally. Corruption exists but is declining. Romania improved since EU accession. Picture a modern apartment overlooking the Black Sea. You paid 48,000 euros. Cost 700 euros monthly. You have EU residency. Legal protections exist. Then you look outside at gray beaches, communist-era hotels, and a town that feels like it peaked in 1985. Number 1, Foca, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Foca is not technically on the ocean, but it sits on the Drina River in a region so cheap, so overlooked, and so geopolitically complicated that it deserves the top spot for people who prioritize cost over everything. About 18,000 residents in eastern Bosnia, near the Serbian border. Heavily damaged during Yugoslav wars, rebuilt slowly. The river is beautiful, mountains surround the area. Cost of living absurdly low. Houses start at 15,000 euros to 30,000 euros for properties needing work. Renovated homes run 40,000 euros to 70,000 euros. Apartments 10,000 euros to 25,000 euros. Rentals 100 euros to 200 euros monthly. Cost of living 400 euros to 700 euros monthly. The appeal is nowhere else offers this combination of European location and developing world pricing. You can buy a house for less than a car. The challenge is Bosnia. The country is politically fragmented with complex ethnic divisions. Economic prospects limited. Young people leave, infrastructure dated. Visa requirements complicated. You are buying into a place still recovering from war. One person bought there as calculated experiment. They paid 22,000 euros for a small house. Costs were minimal, landscapes stunning, but they maintained citizenship elsewhere because Bosnia's future felt unpredictable. War history is inescapable. Foca was the site of atrocities during Yugoslav wars. Picture a renovated house overlooking the river. You paid 25,000 euros. Monthly costs 500 euros. Mountains surround you. Setting is beautiful. Then you learn about the town's war history, navigate arbitrary bureaucracy, and realize the cheapest option comes with emotional complexity that cheap cannot quantify. So there you have it. 15 places where the price of a house is low, but the trade-offs, isolation, climate, bureaucracy, or institutional instability are significant. Cheap exists, but cheap always correlates with something.